Hello, I'm FyxToyCat, and back in 2014, Minecraft started working on something they called the combat update. The idea was to change combat in its entirety, as well as add some other features, and although the update as a whole was pretty good, one feature was hated so much by the PvP community that they have refused to update past that version even to this day. 5 years of Minecraft updates are being ignored because of this one really hated change, and because of that and the fact that you can't go back in updates on Bedrock, Minecraft and Mojang have been working to try and make the very best Combat Update V2 to fix the concerns of the first one while also advancing combat for all players on all Minecraft versions, and that's where this particular world and this particular secret snapshot comes in, because there is a brand new combat test snapshot which has changed combat in its entirety in a way which I think is quite good. And to give you a few sneak peeks, for instance, shields can look like this in this update and hold in front of you like the old way, but to help out PvP players, shields can also look like this in this update, where instead of taking up most of your screen, you can see how the shield being activated is only visible on the crosshair. Or like I personally prefer, you can keep it only in the hotbar right next to my hand, as you can see. But yeah, you have the option of turning off the shield thing to make it easier for fight in combat. You have brand new combat mechanics added in this snapshot, a brand new enchantment even, which has been added in the snapshot, and so many other things that I want to talk about and go through in today's video, because for this snapshot, they really think they've done a good job, such that they've even made a map that anyone can test out this on, and that is why we have the giant creeper being hit by a diamond sword. That's why we have all of this other stuff going on, because this is your demonstration of the combat update V3, hopefully this time the final iteration of the brand new combat mechanics. So let me show you around them. Because if you recall, about 4 months ago, the first attempt was put out, and Jeb listed the issues pretty succinctly, in my opinion. He said there are 3 main issues for the Java edition: that, the PvP is not exciting enough for some players, damage per second is too low to beat certain regenerating items, and that it's too hard to understand for new players. And then he said the main issues on Bedrock, where it was tedious on a controller, and then mentioned that the Legacy console editions did a good job at fixing that. I like that Jeb can admit that. Also, weapons are very similar, and armor is not balanced at all. These are all true concerns, and this update is not just designed to fix one of these issues, or all of the issues for one platform. They've got to fix all of the issues for both platforms so it can be rolled out together sometime in 2020. Hey, look, that's why the hotbar says that. Wow, isn't that a wonderful coincidence? I've added that myself. But yeah, the first iteration did a few really clever things, one of which was auto attack, where you can hold down the click function and it would attack on a regular basis so that you didn't have to work out when to click precisely. The first one also worked out a 200% recharge, where if you waited double as long as your recharge, which, as you can see, this is a normal thing. If you wait double as long, your attacks can have more reach. And to give you a good example of that, here is a, creeper at that distance. As you can see, I can't hit him until I wait that 200%, because he's at the very edge of the extended attack reach, which is also the only way you can do critical hits, because as you can see, I can only do a critical after that point, and I can do a lot more damage because it's a longer reach, it's with a longer recharge, and that also means if you have a sword with sweeping on, which is something you can totally find, then yeah, that's a thing you can do. So yeah, this sweeping attack right here is only possible when you're at the max recharge, as you can see. You won't be able to do it unless you wait. So there is a benefit to waiting, but also you don't have to. You do not have to wait if you do not choose to. You only have to do that if you really want. And I think that's a wonderful brand new combat thing. But this is, the combat update V3, the third attempt at making a snapshot that makes everyone happy. They have, Jeb has actually addressed some of the issues with the previous two, as well as adding brand new things, which is where this chopping enchantment comes in from earlier, as well as a bunch of other really great changes, in my opinion. So first of all, the sword has been returned to having free speed, which means it's 1.5 times as fast as an axe or as a trident. This has a 2 attack speed, this has a 2 attack speed, this has a 3 attack speed, because it's the sword. It's meant to be the primary weapon thing. I think that's just smart personally. I think if you're going to have a fast weapon, it should be the one that's intended for speed, i.e. the sword. What a clever, great idea like that. So yeah, that is the whole, that is the sword change. It's a pretty small one, it's a pretty logical one, but I kind of like it. So the second change here is one they've thrown in there to address concerns that the hold to attack, this thing right here, was making combat too easy, because it made it such that you wouldn't ever want to, click manually, because you'd always be less efficient than holding to click. However, right now you can see how if I'm going to try and nail this, but if I try and do this manually, I can attack much faster than if I hold to click, because the hold to click is just going at the maximum speed of the recharge. It's probably a bit easier to show of an axe, where this is the default speed if you hold to click, which is about 20% slower than if I nail my hit, and then I nail my next hit, then I nail my next hit, and so on and so forth. which means there is now a reward factor to you actually, trying to click manually each time, which I think is really great when you've got weapons that are meant to be powerful in that way. You can effectively do 20% DPS more, more damage every single second if you choose to click yourself. But if you think that's all too much nonsense, 20% isn't too bad a penalty to just kind of let the game do it for you on a regular, consistent basis. So I like that personally. Next up, we have some changes to solidify the axe as a PvP weapon. One of these is the fact that if you attack something with an axe, it will now only do 1 durability as opposed to 2. The idea behind all tools is that if you use them to attack, they use top 2 durability because they're not meant for that. However, the axe is now officially a PvP weapon, and so attacking an enemy will deal 1 of its durability as opposed to 2. Also, you've always been able to have sharpness axes, at least since that first combat update, but now there is a second enchantment. So sharpness is pretty easy to say, right? Like, what it does is it increases the damage on your axe, and you can get some pretty wild damages if you choose to do that, because that's a thing you want. That's a thing you can do if you want. But also chopping is now an enchantment, which to me, again, guess right now without having read or known anything, what does chopping do for your axe? Give me a guess. Because I'll be entirely honest with you, I read there's a new chopping enchantment, and I thought, I don't need to read the rest of this. I know where this is going already, but I was wrong about my guess as to where that was going. The chopping enchantment is not to do with chopping down trees faster. It's actually a secondary PvP enchantment where, as you can see, every single chopping enchantment you add actually increases the damage as well, but also adds to the shield stun per level. So yeah, if you are playing against a mob which does have a shield, or rather a player that has a shield, and theoretically a mob that has a shield, this will do some sharpness damage, which is kind of nice, but also will be better for shield blocking. So there is now an official enchantment for getting past shields, and it's the axe. And I love that. It makes sense. Again, the shield is mostly made of wood, right, as you can see. It would make sense if the way through that was to use your axe. So yeah, that's a thing that now exists. Also, along those same lines, because you might be like, oh, so there's shield changes. Yeah, knockback resistance is now no longer done randomly. It's done based on a scale. Basically, they're trying to make Minecraft combat feel less random, because that's the biggest problem with the old combat prior to the combat update. It was all just random clicking and seeing who had the better connection. So they're trying to make the knockback resistance less random, but also axes will now disable a shield for 1.6 seconds, as opposed to having an RNG chance to disable them for 5, which makes more sense. When you use an axe against the shield, it disables them for a fixed amount of time, and 1.6 seconds is quite a while in Minecraft PvP. I'm sure you've been there. If you're in the situation where it's life or death, you want to be able to do things now. You don't have to wait 1.6 seconds, which can really mess you up if you're trying to get that vulnerability going. So yeah, the shield has been kind of rebuffed in that way. Like, when it comes to sword v sword combat, use the shield, be clever. When it comes to axes being thrown in there, you have to work out when to switch between them, which is what could make PvP more interesting, and is what Mojang is hoping makes the PvP way more interesting, in fact. By the way, one of the things that is still true is that if you, deal damage, if you try to hit as fast as you can, you're no longer punished like you were before this update. It's just you won't get the sweeping edge attack, you won't get criticals, you won't get longer range, and then also, again, you won't get the attack bonuses, whatever, which I think is a, really cool thing. The game physically stops you from doing lots of damage that feels bad, because, it's just been kind of, we know for a fact now, this update has proven that, like, attacking a mob over and over again and not doing damage, that feels bad, and what feels worse? Dying to a zombie pigman. Another really wacky change they've made in this update is to make projectiles more useful in combat. Again, previously they were a little bit unbalanced. After this update, they've made it so the projectiles no longer trigger the, the cooldown enchantment, which means things like that are possible. What did you just see right there? Was that a weakened Vindicator? No, what that was a multi-shot crossbow. So this fires 3 arrows, of course, and when you shoot them at a distance, they have a pretty decent range like that. However, if you shoot them right up close, i.e. at the floor, for instance, to show you something really close, you'll see how all 3 will go on the same spot. Meaning, after this update, it's now possible to have these super close range crossbows, where if you get right up next to someone, you can do insane damage in 1 hit. Did you see that? Instant kill with a crossbow. This is perhaps, I don't know if this is going to change the meta, or if this is going to actually be too useful, but it means there actually is a super useful thing for a bow, where it's short to very, very, it's really short to very short range. But, at these ranges, the crossbow actually is quite useful, while also still being useful at these long ranges, as you can see. I can wait to hit 3 attacks normally, or I can totally just do it 3 at once with a kind of barrage. I love that we now have these cluster kind of shotgun weapons in Minecraft. That's what I thought the multi-shot crossbow would be at first, and it's cool to see it finally, reach my vision from the Village and Pillage update. The crossbow can finally become a viable weapon, I feel like, with this change, because, even if at long range you're a bit slower to hit like this, it's worthwhile to have this shotgun kind of thing in your pocket. And I know, shotguns in Minecraft, not a logical thing, but I think, in terms of it's not logical in the sense that like, oh yeah, it's not actually a shotgun. It's literally just an enchantment that shoots lots of arrows where at close range you can do something cool to, you know, rebalance the meta in that way. If someone gets too close to you and it becomes an annoying fight where you can't do stuff and they don't have a shield, remember, your shield will block these things, then it's a fun mechanic to add there. By the way, when I say shields, you're mostly thinking about players using shields, you or your opponent in PvP, but there's a very interesting line in the additional notes that says, but currently there are no mobs in the game that use shields, and so in that case, chopping would be meaningless in PvE. It sounds a little bit like there might be plans to add a mob with shield, especially given the Never update's happening roughly the same time as all these combat changes. Just saying, maybe it's a thing, maybe it's not, but can we take a minute to appreciate this again? Just like any mob that has like this level of health, you can free shot, instant kill most of them now. And the super strong mobs, if you're thinking about, you know, things with much more health, they should only take a couple. I was going to say Enderman, but they don't like projectiles anyway. But it's super great in my opinion that this exists. Oh, let me show you a baby zombie. This should be way harder, but in theory... Oh god, that lag is confusing. But yeah, it's the same thing. With smaller targets, it's harder. When targets are moving faster, it's harder. So it's something you can perfect. Again, with a zombie, it's not really that hard. Look how easy that was. But with other mobs and with players, it can become a real part of the meta in a way I really am looking forward to. I reckon it might not go too popular with PvP players. We'll see on that one. So yeah, by the way, we're moving around all the things around the outside. So our logical final place to move is to the village over here. So we can talk about the shield. So yeah, the shield is something which has existed in Minecraft for quite some time. It's only come to Bedrock recently. In fact, it still hasn't really truly come to Bedrock because, as you might know, sadly enough, you still can't put banners on there. Very tragic, very sad, very weird, honestly. But yeah, let's talk about the fact that there are shields and, you know, they're a thing that are super handy in combat. It's come up a couple of times already, but we just don't have many things that are useful there to help us show that off. But yeah, in the options menu, you now have 2 extra options, as well as your attack indicator. You have a shield indicator, so you can tell the game where to put your shield, like to tell it that you're doing a thing. I think the crosshair's pretty good, but I prefer the hotbar personally, it looks better, but you can do the crosshair thing from earlier, and you can turn the animation on or off. So if you want to see the shield in your screen to know I'm turtled up, I'm safe, you can do that. You can also do both at the same time, so you can, again, as you can see right here, you can have both active. And yeah, we can just stand here. We can enjoy our shield benefits. That's a thing we can totally do. Or, by the way, this is totally beautiful to do, in my opinion. Or we can pull out our multi-shot crossbow, and we can use them. Oh, okay. Or we can die. Or we can pull out our multi-shot crossbow, and we can use them one by one as like a shotgun blast against them. But again, that's kind of, veering off track. I very almost died there. Should probably avoid that. Oh, no! It was who could draw their bow first. And fortunately, I won that one. But yeah, the shield now has options where you can turn off the animation, where you can turn on the shield thing, and also where you can do the same for the combat indicator. Just turn it off if you think it's, you know, no skill stuff that you don't like. I don't know why you would have that opinion. But yeah, it's kind of a wacky thing you can do, in my opinion. Also, pro tip, your shield is always active if you're on a horse. And yeah, your shield is always active, even if you can't see it. Which means this weird thing happens right here. It looks like a rendering bug where... Oh, I got hit from behind. But yeah, very interesting stuff that can happen. I think that's kind of great. But yeah, in case you're curious about this particular update and when it's coming out and the implementation and stuff, there are some other implementation notes that we know, such as the fact that the delay to the auto attacks, that, you know, that 120% speed thing, is only going to be true for, you know, for keyboard and mouse, controllers and touch as a way to balance them when it comes to cross-platform Bedrock servers, but also just in terms to make it fair for them as a whole. Those platforms will not have the 20% delay. So holding to attack will be the smartest thing to do when playing on controller or touch. However, when playing on a mouse and keyboard, which is where most competitive, you know, like Minecraft currently happens, let's be honest, you know, as much as Lifeboat is a great server, whatever MPVP has called itself these days, Trouble in Mineville, High School Roleplay, or whatever it is, these servers, you know, it was in the trick in the name. If you're role-playing high school, you're probably not doing competitive PvP, right? So yeah, most competitive PvP is done with a mouse and keyboard right now, at least, and because of that, that's kind of like a thing to make it more fair, so you don't get an advantage on those servers for this thing. However, the quality of life will be there for controllers and for touch on Bedrock exclusively, because Java doesn't support controllers or touch, because it's not really the cross-platform version of the game. But yeah, so what about, when's this update coming out? We've seen all the changes. It sounds really positive now. To me, they fixed the biggest concerns. They've made it beneficial to learn when to click if you're playing on a keyboard mouse. They've made it better for controllers. They've made it better for touch controls. They've made a combat system which feels fair and is much more fun. I mean, like, you know, there's just something about, you know, these, you know, triple arrow blasts where it's like, yeah, let's take out mobs with a massive shotgun blast. There's something fun about that. There's something inherently great in my opinion. This new shield indicator thing where you can have it up, or you can have an indicator, or you can do both, or you can do neither if you want to. That's really great. That's like a pro level feature. The brand new axe enchantment, I personally, I don't, you know, shields have not come up that much in combat for me, but like, you know, because I play on bedrock. But for people who want it, that sounds really great. There's now a shield breaking enchantment. And yeah, the fact that they're slowly trying to undo bits of RNG that people don't like, I think that's overall a pretty wonderful thing. So yeah, this is the combat update V3. This is most likely going to be the finished one. They might tweak a thing here or there, but this is the biggest change they've made since the original one, and most people seem to be getting on board with it. The big question will be, will it convince 1.8 players to switch over? And I think the sad answer is there's nothing you could do beyond going back for some of those players, but I think it will convince a significant number, whether that be a third, a half, 2/3, like a significant portion of the fan base will be switching back from those 1.8 servers over to this when it comes out, I imagine. Because yeah, although it's really about the servers, not the players, because the players can't switch if the servers don't with them. But yeah, Minecraft is entering a new era for PvP, and hopefully it's one where we all enter together rather than there being 3 types of PvP: Java post-combat update, Java pre-combat update, and then Bedrock, which has not had a combat update yet. Hopefully the combat update V2 is good enough to satisfy most players and get 90-something% of us on the same page about how it should be when you hit someone in Minecraft, whether that be of a bow, whether that be of an axe, whether that be of a sword, or whether that be of my favorite weapon in the game post this update. Because how is it? It's impossible not to love the multi-shot after they reduce that cooldown and that delay and stuff. But anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you're curious about when you can expect these changes, because right now it's a secret snapshot you have to download specifically from the Minecraft Reddit. It's a whole weird kind of thing. But if you're curious about when you can expect this, 2020 1.16, the Never update, seems most likely. They could slide it into the B update before the end of the year, but I think that it would make sense to make it as either its own thing or as part of another big update, rather than sliding it into a holiday update that requires lots of bug fixing and stuff like that. So yeah, that's when you can expect this. Also, Bedrock will be receiving a lot more changes than Java, because Bedrock also will receive some of the changes from the Combat Update V1, such as the nerf to enchantments, such as the nerf to potions, and such as the nerf to armor. So yeah, there's going to be more changes for Bedrock than there is for Java. We can talk about that all entirely sometime, but for now, thank you very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video some amount, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.